Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to unpack a really timeless allegory. It's all about one of life's most fundamental choices, and it comes straight from the book of Proverbs.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. What if life's ultimate choice, the big one, wasn't some huge dramatic moment, but was actually something as simple as an invitation to a meal? It sounds kind of strange, right? But the ancient text of Proverbs chapter 9 frames this massive choice between two completely opposite life paths as exactly that. It's an invitation from two very different hosts.
So, at the heart of this whole thing is a tale of two ladies, and each one personifies a totally different path. One leads to life, and the other, well, it leads to death. So, let's meet our two hosts, Lady Wisdom and Lady Folly. All right, so who are our contenders here? On one side, you've got Lady Wisdom. She's called the householder, and she's this generous host offering a full-on feast. This represents a path of life and real understanding. And then, on the other side, you have Lady Folly. She's the alluring seductress, and her offer is, well, it's this mysterious stolen water. This path represents deception and ultimately death. So the choice is pretty stark, right? It's between nourishing security and a really dangerous thrill.
Okay, let's start by taking a closer look at wisdom's invitation. It's this carefully prepared feast, and it's for all who seek understanding. Now, this is where the imagery gets really interesting. Wisdom is a householder, and she's preparing this huge banquet in a hall with 7 pillars. Now, according to the source material, that number 7, it's not just random. It actually symbolizes completeness. So what this tells us is that this isn't some exclusive members-only club. No, it's a secure, complete space that's big enough for everyone.
And just look at the preparation that goes into this feast of understanding. She builds her house, she prepares her meat, she mixes her wine, and then she sends her invitation. Every single step is meticulous, it's generous. This is all a metaphor, of course, for the substance and the care that a life of true understanding gives you. Nothing is left to chance here. It is all completely intentional. So, who gets the invite? You might be surprised. The text says her invitation is for those who lack a little in thinking, which really just means anyone who's open to learning. And this is such a crucial point. Wisdom's door is wide open, but you only get to walk through it if you have the humility to admit you don't know everything. Okay, so that's wisdom's setup. Now let's flip the coin and look at the total opposite, folly's secret seduction. And this is all about the powerful, powerful allure of what's forbidden.
What's fascinating is that folly operates in the most public places you can imagine. We're talking centers of education, high society, all the high places of influence. But even though she's out in the open, her offer is all about secrecy. Her seduction isn't a nourishing meal like wisdom's. Instead, it's a very modern idea, one that probably sounds pretty familiar to all of us. The idea that you can be your own God, that you are the center of your own universe, and you get to define your own truth.
And this quote just illustrates her appeal so brilliantly. Stolen water is sweet, food eaten in secret is delicious. See, this has nothing to do with nourishment. It's all about the rush, right? It's the thrill of making yourself bigger, of taking knowledge that you're told is off limits, and believing that you get to be the one to define good and evil.
So you can see, this allegory isn't just some simple little story. When you get right down to it, the choice between wisdom and folly represents the deep philosophical core of the text. It's about two fundamentally different ways of knowing anything at all. And it all really boils down to this one profound question. How do we know what's true? The source material presents this as the core conflict. It's about our epistemology, which is just a fancy word for our fundamental theory of how we get knowledge in the first place.
And this is where those two paths just completely split. On the one hand, you have what the source calls the modernist view. This says knowledge only comes through our 5 senses and what our reason can make of it. Anything outside of that framework, it just gets dismissed. But then you have the wisdom view, and this view suggests that actually knowledge can be received from a source outside of ourselves and our perceptions, that there's a source of truth that's totally separate from creation itself.
This wisdom view is actually based on a Hebrew concept called kodashim. It translates to holiness, but the core idea is the quality of being separate. So in this context, it's talking about a source of life and knowledge that isn't part of creation, it's not dependent on it. It is the source of creation. It's this idea of a reality that's separate from our universe, but also gives life to it.
Okay, so 2 invitations, 2 totally different philosophies of knowledge. But the big question is, where do these paths actually lead? The text is crystal clear about the stakes. It's a choice between life or the depths. For anyone who accepts wisdom's invitation, well, her guests find a full life. When you choose this path of understanding, of humility, of a truth that's grounded in something outside yourself, it leads to a life of real substance, security, and true nourishment. But the alternative? Man, it is stark. Folly's guests, the text says, end up in the depths of Sheol. That's the place of the dead. So that path of making yourself the center of everything, that stolen knowledge that seems so thrilling and so empowering, in the end, it just leads to deception, to emptiness, and to total destruction.
So let's break down the final verdict. Wisdom, she offers a banquet of understanding. Folly, on the other hand, offers an orgy of self-esteem. One way leads to life and security, the other leads to deception and death. So when you boil it all down, the choice is between a life-giving feast and a really destructive celebration of the self. And that brings us to our final thought. The source text says that the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. And what that really means here is acknowledging a source of truth that exists outside of ourselves. So that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about, doesn't it? In a world that so often celebrates the self as the ultimate authority on everything, what could that beginning, that very first step towards wisdom, actually look like for us today?